Hi guys, we're going to be talking today about the commandments of audience etiquette. So you may be wondering, what is etiquette? If you think about the word etiquette, we may think of like, properly ladies, how you sit and cross at your ankles and bouncing a book on your head. But the definition of etiquette is the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. So, it's kind of just like your manners, or how you should behave. Some examples of everyday etiquette that we follow is being kind, being polite, being on time, being a helper, respecting others, let others go first, hold down the noise, eat politely, remove your hat at certain places and locations, send a thank you note, and introducing people. These are examples of just regular everyday etiquette that we seem to follow. Now, today we're talking specifically about theater audience etiquette. This is the behavior of an audience member. How should you act as an audience member when you see a performance? How can you show respect for the performers and your fellow audience members? Well, I've got 10 commandments to show you on how to be a great audience member. Number 1, thou shalt not talk. No matter how hard you try to be quiet or discreet, you will disrupt someone in the audience or on stage when you're talking during a performance. When you're talking, you're not 100% listening. You can miss a lot when you're talking, whether it be a movie or a play or a public speaker. So, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen twice as much as you talk. You can talk before, after, or during intermission when the house lights are up. So when you're in the audience and the lights above you are on, but the stage isn't going and the performance is not going, you can talk during those parts. But when that lights come down and your focus should be on the stage, your mouth should go closed. Commandment number 2, thou shalt turn off and put away all cell phones. Cell phones going off not only disrupts the people sitting around you, but also the performers on stage. They can hear it, guys. I don't know how many times I've been on stage before and I've heard a text ding or a phone go off, and in my mind I'm like distracted for that moment. Turn cell phones off and put them away. You paid to see a show, so see it. Not only does phone notifications for text and stuff like that, we can also it's a dark room when you see a play. The light from your cell phone is very distracting, not just to people around you, but again to the performers. Texting is just as bad as talking on the phone. We see you. We see you on your phone. The audience can see you, and so can the performers. So just be respectful, put that phone away, you paid to see a show, let's see it. Number 3, thou shalt not take pictures or recordings. Recordings or taking pictures not only disrupts, again, the people sitting around you, but also the performers on stage, especially people that have flash. That is going to blind the performers, and it can be very dangerous. It also can be illegal due to contractual agreements with the owners of the royalties and the people performing. They may have a thing in there where you're not allowed to record or anything like that or take pictures, and it could come back and really hurt the production company and even you. If you want a picture or a video of a show, especially like parents that are of students who are in shows, ask the director. Most of the time, pictures are taken of a production, and maybe even video, and you may be able to get that. But don't get up and record, because when you're recording or taking pictures, you're not really watching them. You're watching them through a screen, and they're right there. They'd rather have your full attention on them than on a recording that you may or may not look back later. Number 4, thou shalt not arrive late. If you're late, you might not be allowed in, or you might miss something important. If you're a parent of a student, please, 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 please arrive early so that your student knows that you're here. It really makes them feel a lot better that they're not worried about you being late to the show. If a show starts at 7 p.m., that means you need to be there prior to 7 p.m. You have so much you have to do when you get to a theater. You've got to park. You got to find where the performance is happening and the box office where you buy your tickets. You gotta buy your tickets, you gotta find your seat, maybe you have to use the restroom beforehand. All of these things happen before the show needs to start. Sometimes you're lucky, and they may hold house is what we call it, meaning we may hold it and allow for tickets to be purchased to come in. But that's not always the case. Your child may be only in the first part of the show, and if you're late, you may miss it. Coming in late is a distraction. It opens up light into the auditorium that would have been, or the theater that would have been dark, and it draws attention to you, which kind of points out that it may be rude, or people may think differently of you. 5. Thou shalt not leave unless mightily provoked. Leaving before the end of a show is disrespectful and distracting. In a way, it's telling the performers, I didn't like this show, and it makes you appear to be a rude individual. Leaving at intermission is acceptable, but it does seem kind of rude. But if you have an emergency, we kind of understand. If you have an emergency, you can exit quietly and quickly out of the back of the performance space. If you have to leave for an emergency, don't walk towards the stage. You're going to draw more attention to yourself. But if you have to leave, do it quietly and quickly out of a back or side entrance. Make sure you close the door quietly behind you, and don't let in any light if you can. Number 6. Thou shalt laugh at the jokes, but thou shalt not laugh at the death scenes and the love scenes. Unless mightily provoked by an incompetence of the performers. Laughter at inappropriate times during emotional scenes such as love or death scenes is not acceptable. Laughter during inappropriate times shows how emotionally immature the audience goer is. Laughter should be held for comedic times and should be done respectfully as far as length and volume to the other audience members around you. You may be a big laugher at home and with your friends. Just remember that other people are around you that want to see and not miss anything from the show. So have your laugh, but try to keep the laughter down and at a short length. Don't laugh for 10 minutes on a joke that was told 15 minutes ago. Thou shalt not bring food or drink into the theater. Food and drink are accepted in movies, but not necessarily in theaters. Bottled water is usually safe because it's easy to clean up and it's necessary for a lot of health issues. But really, no food. This may be an exception from time to time, but do not bring your Sonic or your Chick-fil-A and your big ol' Route 44 drinks and expect to be able to, or Starbucks, and bring them into the theater. Most theaters will ask you to discard them or to eat them in the lobby, and you will not be allowed in until you've done that. Thou shalt not open those little candies covered in cellophane. I know this is a strange rule, but you'd be surprised how often people do this and it becomes a distraction to the performers and people around them. If you've got to open like a cough drop or some candies, but do it before the show, because those wrappers are impossible to be open quietly. So do it before the show and have that couple of candies ready to go so that you can easily just eat them during the show without being disrespectful. Number 9, thou shalt remove fidgety children and crying babies immediately. Simply put it, some children are just too young to bring to the theater. They just don't know how to behave. And that may be because they're just too young to understand it. So please, maybe just don't bring them to that performance. Scolding and explaining, etc. is even more annoying than the children sometimes. The lesson shouldn't be on how to behave during the show. You need to give them that lesson before. And if, say, they're too young to really comprehend their behavior, like babies, and they start crying or fidgeting, immediately, quietly as you can, take them outside to the lobby and help them soothe themselves there. Same thing with little children. Number 10, thou shalt be prepared to enjoy thyself. You're coming to the theater, hopefully for many different reasons. Whether it was an assistant spouse, an obligation that you had, an assignment, whatever. Realize that the performers are intent on one thing, entertaining you. So smile and it's gonna be fine. Amazing performance is gonna happen for you. So don't be having a sour face. Apply whenever you watch any performance these 10 rules. Whether you're watching a performance that has had days to practice, or it's a performance done in your class, every performer should be treated with respect by following those audience etiquette commandments that we just went over. Now, here are some extra commandments that I think will be very helpful. They're suggested additional etiquette. Okay, so you're going to the theater with someone that you know. Maybe it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. This is not a time to cuddle or be inappropriate. There's other people around you, and trust me, unfortunately, we see you. So save the cuddling for somewhere else. Dress nicely to see a show. Avoid PJs and workout clothes. I always say the more expensive the ticket, the more dressed up you've got to be. When we have people work a show as like ushers, we tell them dress in your Sunday best. Something nice and appropriate, nothing too short or too revealing, etc. Now, we don't put that limitation on our patrons, but, you know, back in the day, people used to dress up to the nines to go see theater. Maybe avoiding wearing your sweatpants and your hoodie to see a show shows a little bit more respect to the performers who have probably worked really hard to do well for you. And lastly, applause is always welcome at the end of a performance, but hooting and hollering and yelping and screaming at the end of a performance isn't. This is a performance, not a sporting event. Save the hooting and hollering for sporting events and not for your performances. So, that's our audience etiquette. We hope that you have learned a lot about theater etiquette and that you go out and you use it whenever you see a show, whether it is or performance, whether it is at your local theater or in class theater performance. Thank you and have a great day.